Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi Vedika. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All good, all good. Okay, so we'll start with the interview. Any reservations before that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So tell us a little about yourself.
So, my name is Vedika. I'm 17 years old and I hail from Mumbai, Maharashtra. I finished my 10th grade in ICSE St. Gregory's High School and I finished my 12th grade in Narsi Monji College of Commerce and Economics. Apart from this, growing up, I was really into a lot of extracurricular activities that were oratory in nature. So I like taking part in elocutions, debates, and I had a full transformation from someone who was very nervous to someone who loved being on stage. Apart from this, also tried to maintain good academics and put in a lot of efforts for that. So I really valued my school for the opportunities that they gave me for extracurricular activities, and I wanted to do something for my school and obviously for my parents also. So I worked really hard in my 10th grade and I stood third across India in ICSE. But I feel like my major growth period was 11th and 12th when I got a chance to explore a lot of different clubs and committees in NM, and one of them was the entrepreneurship cell over there, where I discovered that I really like the business side of things and want to start something of my own in the future, which is why I'm here. And apart from this, I also had other diverse experiences, like I learned French and Spanish. I also became very passionate about conditioning and stereotypes in the society. So I gave a TED talk on the same. So these were a few experiences that I had through my 11th and 12th.
Right.
The TED Talk sounds really interesting. Can you tell us a little more about it? What exactly you talked about there?
So this was inspired by my experience after 10th grade. So a lot of people, relatives, friends, family told me, why are you taking commerce? You should take science with such a good percentage. And this got me thinking that there are so many stereotypes that are there in the society. Like if you get a certain percentage, you have to choose a certain career path. If you look a certain way, then that is considered as beautiful. So this was something that was very close to my heart. And the talk was on how conditioning has shaped the society, and it's even leading to other serious major problems, like even gender divisions are cultivated because of a lot of stereotypes and conditioning in the society.
Right. So what kind of conditioning, you're familiar that there are like different types of conditioning, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, first you could like tell me some of them. What are the types of?
So if I'm not wrong, there are broadly two types: classical conditioning and operant conditioning.
Right.
And
just give me a very like one-line description of what both of those things are.
so classical conditioning is when you are reacting to a particular stimulus, you get used to it, and then next time when the same stimulus takes place, you automatically react that same way.
Okay, and operant?
And in operant conditioning, there is a reward given along with the stimulus, or a punishment. Could be either way, like positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement.
So when you talk about stereotypes in society and stuff like that, what kind of conditioning would you classify it under? Or does it even come under any of these two categories?
So I'm not sure, but I feel like it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
In the sense that a lot of things have been inherently carried on from one generation to the other. So maybe that could be classified as classical conditioning. And in case of operant conditioning, it is just a lot of verbal cues and rewards given, like could be in the form of, like, if you are for example, if I'm in my case only, like if I would have taken science, there would be a lot of like praise and all coming in.
So do you think that operant conditioning has to be like independent of a certain thought process or a certain classical kind of conditioning, or can they like be the same thing?
I'm not sure, but I think both can coexist.
Right.
And do you think that just because something is being carried forward by different generations, it automatically, it's a type of classical conditioning? Are you sure about that?
I'm not sure, but that's what
it's okay. It's okay.
That's completely fine. So, Vedika, I'm an alumnus of NM College, and it's one of the Mumbai's best. Everyone knows about it. So, I know the kind of culture that goes into it and the kind of societies we have there. So can you elucidate a little on the kind of societies you were part of and how it shaped you into the person you are currently?
So I was a part of the entrepreneurship cell, and that helped me interact with a lot of people. I was a part of the corporate relations team over there. So we had to reach out to a lot of industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and convince them to come and speak at our keynote speaker sessions. And a lot of them were alumni just like you were, and we reached out to them and we got them on board. So that helped me to talk to new people. Apart from that, I was a part of the marketing area in the wildlife and nature club. So we organized a trek for the entire college, and I was also part of the cultural society.
Right. Okay.
Okay, Vedika, so considering you had commerce in your 11th, 12th, firstly, can you tell us what all subjects you exactly had in those 2 years?
So I had economics, accountancy, and business studies, and I took French as an elective and English.
Alright. Okay, so considering this, can you tell us the full form of EBITDA?
Yeah, so EBITDA is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization.
Alright. And say, how would you classify or outstanding rent when it comes to accountancy?
So I believe that by classify you're asking me under which head. So
Yes,
it would
yes.
be a liability because it's something that we are still yet to pay.
Alright, okay. Do you know anything about the law of diminishing marginal utility?
So diminishing marginal utility law states that as you keep consuming more and more units of a particular good, the marginal utility of that good keeps on diminishing. And we can see this example in our real life also. Like if someone is thirsty and they have water, initially the value that they attach to that water is very high as compared to when you are 70 or 80% full and then you are having that same water.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of water, do you know anything about the water diamond paradox?
So water diamond paradox, I think it states that water being an essential commodity and something that is almost crucial to our survival is costs next to nothing. Like a Bisleri bottle costs around 10 rupees as compared to precious metals or like a diamond that costs so much, but it's not something that is essential to us.
So what is the implication of this? So what kind of goods are we comparing here?
I'm not sure, but I think we're comparing essential goods and luxury goods.
Okay. So what is the implication? Like what are we trying to say through this paradox?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
That's
fine.
only the difference.
Right. So you mentioned that you didn't have maths, I think, in your 11th and 12th grade?
I did have math.
Okay. You did have math. Okay, sorry. So are you comfortable with the few questions from maths?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can try.
It's okay. Right. So I'll give you an equation. Just tell me what the shape of the graph of that equation would be. Okay. And also the points of intersection it has on the x-axis. Right?
Sure.
Okay. So we have y is equal to x square minus 5x. So what is the shape? What is the points of intersection?
So I believe it will be a parabola, and it'll intersect the x-axis at minus root 5 and plus root 5. We can take y as 0
okay.
and
So now tell me what are the points on the graph on the x-axis from which to which the value or the value of the equation. When is the value of the equation negative?
when it'll be from like when we take the it'll be from minus root 5 to root 5, right?
Okay. So now tell me the area of the graph where this is negative. The value of the
So
equation.
we'll have to take the integral,
Okay.
which would be x cube upon 3 minus 5x square upon 2
Okay.
and minus root 5 to root 5.
Okay, so if I modify this equation a little, say I say y is equal to x square minus 5xy, would you still be able to graph it?
I don't think so.
Okay. So are you comfortable with integrals in general?
I can try.
Okay. That's a good attitude to have. But yeah, so do you know what a floor function is?
Yeah, essentially a floor is like, for example, if you take a floor of the value 4.2, then it will be 4.
Yeah. Okay, so what is it doing essentially? What is the purpose of a floor function?
So, basically what it does, it just separates the value into a fractional and a real value.
So is it separating or is it making it discrete? Basically, if it's a continuous chain
Right,
of numbers, so it
yeah.
makes it discrete.
Discrete.
So how do you integrate, any kind of function which makes a continuous function discrete? So for example, if I want to integrate the floor of x dx, how do you integrate that?
So first we'll separate the real value and the fractional value.
Okay, I'll just, small caveat to that, 0 to 1. From 0 to 1, if you want to integrate that, then just tell me.
Right. So fractional value will be 0 and the real value will be half.
Okay, right, fair enough.
All right. Okay. So, can you tell us, since you're from Maharashtra, can you tell us about what's exactly happening in Maharashtra right now?
So a few days ago, basically initially our government was led by Uddhav Thackeray. It was a Shiv Sena government, and a lot of MLAs under him rebelled against his governing and leadership. So this was led by Eknath Shinde, and I believe around 20 to 30 MLAs went to Surat, and I don't remember the exact date. So they went over there and they started to work against like a rebellion against Uddhav Thackeray, and Uddhav Thackeray was supported by Sanjay Raut, the NCP chief, and his son also. So this was going on, and because there are rules in the constitution that you can't revolt against your own party, so the Supreme Court filed notices against the MLAs that had gone to Surat. But these notices were kept on hold because Uddhav Thackeray made a public plea to them that let's come to the table and let's discuss. And at the same time, there were other people that were alongside him that kept reassuring the Maharashtrian civilians that he will not resign and he will be there for you. But there was also the question of a floor test happening against them. And the entire conclusion of this was that Uddhav Thackeray ended up resigning. And currently Eknath Shinde is the chief minister.
What is a floor test?
I just read the term, but I'm also not very sure.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so can you speak on 1 minute on any other geopolitical event, a significant geopolitical event that has happened in the last few years?
Do I get time to think?
You can take
just about 10 seconds.
as little
Yeah.
as you can. Okay, I think you can start
Yeah.
speaking now.
So the event that I've chosen is Brexit, and I would like to present my personal opinions on the entire happening of Brexit. So I feel like we have different values in governance, like democracy, liberty, equality, and obviously different forms of government like authoritarian governments, etc. And while this was entirely conducted to show how democratic they could be by taking the opinion of the entire masses while floating the memorandum, I feel like there were a lot of other things at play. Like there were these red buses that were going around the entire UK area that had shown how they lose £2 million in economic losses, when in reality that is not the case. Like that figure was a very biased figure and not the true figure. And there were a lot of social media brochures and things floated that I believe influenced their opinion into ticking and pushing for Brexit. And we all know how that went later on when Theresa May had to resign and the government was almost in chaos.
Okay, I think that's enough. So tell me one thing. So you talked about a figure, like the $2 million figure in there. So now when people are presented with facts which are backed by statistics, are they not more likely to kind of trust that? Where do you think we should draw the line? Do you think that statistics can lie, per se? And if I were you, I'd choose my words carefully. So I'm kidding. Just
I'm sure, because I believe that IPM also has a very strong statistics curriculum that is there. I am not very well versed with the theory part, but I have read cases where a lot of these figures are biased. because there are a lot of assumptions made, and a lot of times these assumptions defeat the entire purpose of the study that is being taken place.
Okay, so what does someone do? What is the final straw? Like when I'm trying to convince you of something, I think, at least for me, if I want to truly convince you, I would present you with numbers and facts. But if you're telling me that even that is, subject to bias, then what does someone do? What is the ultimate test of what is correct and wrong?
No, I definitely agree with you when we say that we have to present. I mean, there are biases in people also. Like, there are psychological biases that state that people tend to believe someone more when they are presented with numbers as compared to verbal information.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying that numbers should not be presented at all, but there should be some context with the numbers.
Yeah, pick from your own example. Like, try to explain it with your own example.
In the case of Brexit also, if they said that they were losing £2 million in economic losses, they should have, along with this, put like an asterisk and stated down that these were the so and so assumptions that were made,
Right.
and these were the variables that were considered, and that is how we reached this number.
Okay.
So that was not the case, because in reality, if you see exiting from EU makes them lose more money, and that was not stated at all.
Right.
So if they're losing this much with the statistical assumptions, with those same assumptions, they would be losing more if they exited the European Union.
Fair.
So how do you suggest that one should consume news?
I feel like, one, you should do your due diligence about the sources that you're taking the news from, whether they are biased. A lot of times news sources are funded by certain organizations, and if they are funded by certain organizations, there would be bias in the news that they present about the same organizations.
Of course. Right.
And the second thing that you can do is try to look for more trusted sources, so quantity and quality.
Great, yeah.
Okay.
So, Vedika, why do you want to get into the IPM program at IIM Indore?
There are two reasons. One was that, I'm sorry, I'm stating the number 2 again and again. So the first is that when I started with commerce, I did miss the rigor of math that I feel like my JE counterparts were experiencing. And at the same time, I also had like this passion for psychology, which is why I gave this talk on conditioning. And I feel like IPM gives me the perfect opportunity to explore these different subjects. And while other people may have views on how the lack of specialization might make you probably weaker in the industry, I believe it's the opposite. It gives you a lot more perspective on how to tackle problems. And at the end of the day, if you're a good problem solver, you can thrive in any industry.
Okay, so let me ask you the flip side of the same question. What do you think is better if you had like specialized in something? Like, instead of like kind of studying such a diverse curriculum, would you think that IPM would have been better if it had, or like why do you think it would have been better if we had specialized courses and such?
I actually think the USP of IPM is that it's so diverse. So
Yeah. I want you to tell me what is the good thing about specialization. Because there are a lot of people specializing, so we can't totally discount the fact that there is something that's happening there.
Fair enough. Because there are certain roles, like for example, even when we have like epidemics or pandemics coming up, so there are certain roles that generalists just cannot perform. Like for example,
So you think that IPM has like people who would classify themselves as generalists?
that would again be a generalization from my end. So I wouldn't say that.
Right.
But
So, yeah, go on.
yeah, but if you want to, so if you are the kind of person that you want to, do research on some cancer virus, or if you are the kind of person that you want to just work in NASA for the research of a particular.
Why are all those examples restricted to STEM areas? Do you think that there is scope of specialization in the area that you've studied, right? Commerce, right? So do you think there's a scope of specialization there which people should be pursuing after their 12th grade?
No, definitely. If you want to be an economist, then there are, we have Geeta Gopinath. We have other people. We have Abhijit Banerjee also from India. So I'm not discounting their education. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that this is something that I wish to do, and I want to essentially get into entrepreneurship and start something of my own.
Right.
And an education like this would be more beneficial for me as opposed to a
A
specialized.
specialized.
Right. So, you just mentioned like about the J counterparts. There are many J counterparts. There are many people like you. Why should we take you specifically?
I feel like independent of stream and all, growing up, I've always had this curiosity to learn different areas, and I feel like I'll be able to do justice to that in the IPM program. And like I contributed to Gregorius through whatever activities that I partook over there, I wish to do the same in IPM as well. So I know that you guys have Clean Streak, a venture started by students, and there are other student-run communities and clubs and committees also. So I want to contribute there as well, apart from academics.
That
Okay.
sounds great, Vedika.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
I think we're done here.
Yeah, I think we're done.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you have any questions for us?
I just had one question. If I wish to pursue research under one of the IPM professors, is that an option that is extended to us?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. So, in your third year, you have the option of undertaking a CIS. It's an independent course of study, and under this, you work under a professor if you get a certain amount of grade. So, you have to qualify for this course. Once you qualify for it, you can work under any professor on any topic of interest that you would like to basically research further.
All right, thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much,
Vedika.
Vedika. Really nice meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, so I really hope that you enjoyed that mock personal interview. We really enjoyed recording it. We recorded it in one of the classes that we actually study in. So I hope that will give you some idea on how commerce questions and questions are asked for commerce with math profile. We did a science profile as well last year, so you can check that out. And this time we also thought that an offline setting would give you an idea on how intimidating or different it could be for an offline interview as opposed to an online interview. So all the very best, and check out the link in the description below. Also, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.